Hey guys.
Alright folks, we're here today to check out a song video, but before we get into that, I have a joke. Alright? Are you ready?
Yeah.
What's the difference between Las Vegas and Wuhan?
Oh no.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Yeah. God, dad joke of the week. I feel like that one is pretty dated.
But still pretty good.
Eh,
Just because it's dated, it doesn't mean it's not good.
Only certain things are able to
Come on. Speaking of dated, we're here to check out Kerry King, a man who ages like a fine wine. The moment, and I'm going to paraphrase here, the moment that he quoted himself, or not quoted himself, but the moment he said on an interview and somebody quoted, and I'm paraphrasing, that Slayer, by retiring, they left some money on the table. I knew that money was not going to stay on the table for very long. So he announced his solo project, which I thought was kind of... tell me what you think about this. When I first heard that he was coming out with a solo project, and he's naming it Kerry King, which is his name, fair enough.
Okay.
I honestly thought it was going to be instrumental.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense.
That's kind of the first thought that I had. Like, you would get, like, some nobody... I'm not saying nobody, but, like, not necessarily a really super well-known name to play bass, not a guy to play drums, and then it's just him playing guitar, whatever. I didn't think he was actually going to get together, like, an all-star cast of guys to be in his band.
Yeah, I don't know why I call it Kerry King, though.
That's the part I don't get. Like, if you're going to invite, the lead singer from Death Angel, Paul Bostaph, who was in Slayer with him, Phil Demmel from Machine Head and Violence, and all these other projects he's been in, and whoever else, I can't remember who he invited to play bass. You would think that they would name it something. Like, even
just
Show
King.
No Mercy.
Even just King or something.
Or King. Fuck. That would have
just King, yeah.
King. And then the logo of the band is a broken crown. It's like a king's crown, but like one piece is broken.
Yeah.
Ah, fuck. That would have been great.
Even just King.
So naming it Kerry King and then having a cast of cats that talented and that well known to me seems
kinda
a little
weird.
bit weird,
Yeah.
And he mentioned that he was thinking of Phil Anselmo from Pantera to do the vocals, but then Pantera kind of got back together, at least half of it got back together, and that was kind of out of the window. So then he decided to recruit the lead singer from Death Angel. So I mean, which is a good choice, nevertheless.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The whole thing to me felt a little bit strange and weird.
Yeah, it was done in a weird way. It was done in a very weird way.
Yeah, because the guys that he invited to be in the band
are not nobodies. Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
like, this is a super group.
This is I think just call it King or just call it whatever. Like
KK. No, KK. There's already KK's priest. And then you're 1K too short.
And you're one.
Yeah, maybe that's not a good move.
You're 1K away from.
Yeah, maybe that's not a good move. But King, just call it King.
Just King, yeah.
Or King's disciples.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they're his disciples, I guess.
I guess.
Yeah.
But then you do that with a bunch of nobodies.
Yeah, that's true.
You would do that with a bunch of nobodies.
The King's Men. I don't anything but Kerry King.
Just anything but Kerry King, yeah.
I just feel like that's a little bit, I don't know, redundant. Anyhow, Kerry King, idle hands, which obviously his hands were not idle, because after the whole Slayer thing, he kept making music. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, Idle Hands. I swear to God, I keep hearing this, because there was Idle Hands was, is that like a different band? Because...
I'm sure there's other band with songs Idle Hands.
No, I'm talking about like the actual band, because do you remember?
I don't think there's a band named Idle Hands.
Oh, there's gotta be, because what's their name? Nightfall.
Unto Others?
Unto Others. They used to be called Idle Hands, but then they got sued, I think. There was something
They were called Idle Hands before?
Yeah, I think they were called Idle Hands.
I don't know. Anyways, we can figure that out afterwards. Are you ready?
Tell me if I'm wrong, please. I do want to know.
I'm sure people will. You ready?
Yeah.
All right, let's check this out. I don't think you're wrong, by the way.
Violence spreads my retribution. It's a great retaliate. I can't believe what I see with my own eyes.
it's nice to see that the songs that didn't make it to God Hates Us All are now on this record. Do you want me to go first? Because I think I'm the biggest Slayer fan in the room right now. Okay, so let me say this. Let me start off with one, and then end on the other spectrum. First of all, it would be nearly impossible for him to create music after so many years of being in Slayer, and that being like his own band, his only band that he's ever been in, and not sound like Slayer. Yeah. All right, so let's get that straight. This to me is like as Slayer as it gets, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that, because I think there is a need and there is a desire from the fans to get some new Slayer material. So this kind of scratches that itch. This to me sounds like a song that could have been on God Hates Us All. I don't know if it was, if maybe some of it was written in that time period, with that mind frame, with those thoughts in mind when that record came out. But if you showed me the instrumental of this track, and you told me that this was a song that got cut from God Hates Us All, I would be like, story checks out. The guitar tone, the vibe of the song, the structure of the track, man, it fits like a glove on that record. Specifically on that record. You know, if I had to pick a Slayer album for this song, that would be the album that I would put this track in. So I'm obviously shooting my shot here without knowing if that's the case or not. Maybe he wrote this song a month ago. I don't know. But when I hear this song, the instrumental, I'm not at the vocals part yet. Mm-hmm. When I hear this song instrumentally, this to me is a song that belongs on that record, that has that record's vibe, that DNA of that album. So let me start off by saying those two things, that it would be impossible for this not to sound like Slayer. So it's not like he's going to release a prog record. True. You know what I mean? So for those that are looking at this and complaining about how much Slayer it is, like, first of all, it's not a ripoff, because he was in Slayer. Slayer didn't break up; they just called it quits. And I believe it was done without necessarily his full blessing. I mean, obviously he had to live with it, but if he had his say, Slayer probably wouldn't have called it quits. So anyhow, so I was not expecting anything that didn't sound like Slayer. So this, first of all, checks that box. But second, if I have to be more specific in terms of how it sounds, God Hates Us All, that's where I'm placing it. Now, moving on to the vocals. I love the vocals. He has a great voice. He has a great voice for thrash metal. You see that, or I should say you hear that every time you play a Death Angel record. I've seen Death Angel live multiple times. He delivers live as good as he delivers on the record. He has a great delivery, great tonality, great pronunciation of the words in terms of how the song moves along. He's able to carry the track and flow with the track extremely well. And in this song, he's at his best. It's a song that allows him, in my humble opinion, more so than in Death Angel, this song allows him to stretch himself a little bit further. I don't think he's going outside of his comfort zone, but he's probably at the limit of his comfort zone as far as this track goes. And not to say Death Angel has some fast tracks too. Like, they have two incredible guitar players. They are an incredible band, in my opinion. Super underrated as far as the thrash metal scene is concerned. But they definitely are one of the pinnacles of the genre, and specifically of the Bay Area, where Slayer also came from. So let me just say that vocally, super strong. I didn't expect anything else. I really love him as a vocalist, and I think he does a wonderful job. Having said all of that, you cannot tell me that you listen to this song, and in the back of your mind, you're not wondering, how would have this sounded if Tom Araya was on vocals? Like, come on, anybody out there who's a Slayer fan who listens to this, because there's some moments in this song that's very Tom Araya-esque. Like, not quite there, but very close. Yeah. Very close. So I want somebody to prove me wrong. Who's out there that's a Slayer fan that listens to this song and doesn't think, man, I wonder how this would have sounded like with Tom Araya? Because that's not what I was thinking throughout the whole song, but it crossed my mind multiple times. Yeah, as it would. Just wanted to put out there, because, like I said, God Hates Us All, this sound, his vocals on it, makes sense. This is a prototypical Slayer track. I mean, half of Slayer is in the band. You're just missing right now. You're missing Gary Holt and Tom Araya. That's all you're missing. So, anyways, that's my take on this song. I love this track because I love Slayer. I love this sound. The guitar solos, magnificent. That same Slayer-esque vibe to the guitar. I mean, everything about this song is Slayer.
It's very Slayer, yeah.
So I enjoy this track, everything that I just said, but like I want to mention once again, it's impossible for any fan of the band to listen to this and not just wonder, even if it's only for a millisecond, how this would have sounded like with Tom Araya on vocals.
I mean, I feel like it's very...
The floor is yours.
I feel like that's a valid take.
Yeah, and I don't mean to be disrespectful
No, that's why
who's singing and who's playing.
No,
that's
but it's with
that's
any...
That's why I set it up the way I did.
Band, it's with any band. You didn't even have to set it up because I feel like people already understand. It's with any band that gets a new lead singer, or...
Especially when the music doesn't change.
It doesn't change at all. Yeah.
At all from what it was. Like, for example, when Anthrax... And I give you the floor and I'm taking it back. When Anthrax changed the lead singers and then released the Sound of White Noise, Sound of White Noise musically was very different from Belly of the Beast. Very different. So they changed the sound, but they changed the vocalist with the sound.
Yeah.
So when you listen to Sound of White Noise, and I'm just using that one, I could use Iron Maiden as I could use a multitude of bands, but I'm using that one. So when you listen to any song from Sound of White Noise, I know you're not a big Anthrax fan and whatever, but like for those of you out there,
it's not that I don't like Anthrax.
No, but for those out there, there are more connoisseurs. There are
fan.
more connoisseurs of the album and stuff. When you listen to that record, and when the record came out, not for a second you were like, "Wow, I wonder how this would have sounded with Joey Belladonna on vocals." No, because it doesn't sound like something that Joey would be singing on. So that doesn't cross your mind.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But when you listen to this. You know what I mean? You're like, wow, I wonder... It would be like if Iron Maiden released Fear of the Dark with a different singer. And you're listening to Fear of the Dark, and you're like, wow, I wonder how this would have sounded with Bruce Dickinson. Because it sounds just like something you would sing on. You know what I mean? So that's all. Okay, the floor is back.
No, but that's why I say I understand. And the floor's back with me, but I ain't going to do shit with this floor because...
At least wipe it.
I'm not a diehard Slayer fan. I do enjoy Slayer. Like, I do enjoy Slayer. I've seen them live. And
multiple times, actually.
Multiple times. And I do
not as many as me.
I do enjoy Slayer's music.
I think I've seen Slayer 10 times.
But Slayer is not...
They were, by the way, the first live band I've ever saw.
Yeah, you told me.
I was like 12.
Slayer is not one of those bands that it's like my favorite band and this and that. Because I grew up in a different time. By the time I grew up, Slayer was already grown and crutches and canes and all that. No, but I'm saying music-wise, like...
You just gravitate towards other stuff. They're not from your era.
They're not from my era. So I can't have the same love and appreciation for the band as you growing up with the band, as the band was growing up for me.
And me becoming a metalhead as the band was growing.
Yeah, and for me, they were already grown. They were already at the pinnacle of their piece. So I never grew up with that band, but I grew up with different bands. So I can enjoy... I love seeing them live. Whenever they come, I'd love to see them again because they're just one of those bands that live, they pull off a lot of the songs very well. And they have an amazing catalog of music that I do enjoy. But I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan. I'm not a mega fan. But
okay, having said that, this song.
But this song, I totally agree with you. It's very, very Slayer-like. And it does just sound like something that could have came out but never did. And then they just switched some shit around and then...
Yeah, but it would be very difficult for not to have that vibe.
Of course, but that's why I said when you started off, it's like...
Unless it's a ballad, or like a prog.
It's the only band he's been in, right? So you can't expect him to make prog, right? Like, you know it's going to be... Not only is it going to be very influenced by Slayer, it's going to be heavily influenced by Slayer.
And you got to think that he has probably drawers full of songs that never made it anywhere.
Yeah.
That maybe were half finished... Or he had a starting riff, a starting idea that never went anywhere. Because when bands are putting records together, if a record gets released with 9 songs, that's not, most of the time, I'm not saying all the time, most of the time, that's not the amount of songs that they had going into the studio.
It was like 38, and they were like, the 9
at the very least, if you end up with 9, at the very least, you had about 15. And then from that, you narrow it down. Sometimes you have more, sometimes you have less. Very few bands... The songs you end up on the record, that's exactly the songs that they worked on to be on the record. There's not many bands that take that approach. Most bands go in with a few more songs and then and then see what works best and what doesn't work.
It's artists in general.
But there's some bands that what you see is what you get. That's
True.
all they had. You know what I mean?
But artists in general do that a lot. Like, I mean, it's been seen a lot with like hip hop artists. Like when they pass away, and there's like 2 albums worth of music that just gets released, and people are like, "Where did this music come from?" Well, it's the music that weren't part of their albums when they were alive that is kind of finished, so they're just releasing that.
Yeah, or they have recorded some vocal lines, but there was no sound, there was no track behind. And I find, I mean, some bands, whatever doesn't make the cut gets completely thrown away. I was talking to Nick from Suicidal Angels, another massive, in my opinion, massive thrash metal band from Greece that's completely underrated. They have a new album coming out March 1st on Nuclear Blast. And I was talking to him, and he said they went into the studio with 15 songs or something. So there's 5 of them that didn't make the cut, or whatever, 4 of whatever the number didn't make the cut. But he said I deleted them. So it's not like we're gonna go back to them at some point in time. Like he said, like I just didn't feel like they were good enough. So I don't want to dwell on something that I didn't feel like it was good enough. So he deleted. Not everybody does that. Some guys keep those files around because that song may not have worked for that specific record. But that doesn't mean it's not going to work for a future album. So they want to keep that stuff around. So I came in expecting exactly what I got.
Yeah.
I got exactly what I was expecting.
Same.
All right. What did you expect versus what you got? Hit us up in the comment section. Let us know. And he already announced a tour with Lamb of God, and I can't remember who else is on. But it's a massive tour that they already announced. I mean, on the name Kerry King alone, based on the cast of cats that he has.
Yeah.
Fuck.
So
finding a label and finding tour packages is it's not going to be slim pickings.
It's as easy as releasing the statement that the band was created.
Exactly. It's not going to be slim pickings. So anyhow, his name carries a huge amount of weight, and no pun intended. All right, guys, let us know that in your thoughts about the band, about the song, about the vocals. Hit us up in the comment section. I'm dying to hear what other Slayer fans have to say, see if it matches my ideas. It's okay if it doesn't, but I want to hear what you got to say. And we'll see you all at the next video.
See ya.